I'd like to welcome everyone to today's show of Truth. And today's guest, a very special guest, we have Stephen Mauriello. Am I pronouncing that correct, Steve?
Oh, perfect, man, perfect.
Thank you. Steve, he's 30-year career law enforcement. He's a big advocate for suicide prevention. Especially for first responders. He's an advocate with POPPA New York, which we're gonna get into that during the show. And I encourage everyone. I know you guys are watching this podcast and everything else too, but I encourage everyone extremely to also follow, Stephen. He has the Keeping It Real with Stephen Michael. So you guys can tune into that, Michael, during this, and I'll actually have it streaming across the bottom as well, his contact information and ways to actually follow his show.
So I also thank you, Michael, for inviting me on. But I want to say I definitely want to network with you and a lot of other people that's into this first responder, mental health awareness. I think it's a big field out there to get help for everybody. And that's what we do this show for, to help everybody. So
exactly. And I wanted to thank you for your current service, past service. And I mean, what you do is phenomenal. I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to bring you on here, because, people need to hear your voice. People need to hear your resources and the ways we can make a difference, man. So, I mean, thank you for allotting me this time. I mean, it truly means a lot. It means so much, what you do.
Mike, I appreciate it. I have a motto I always say on my show, and I believe it. You matter, you're important, you make a difference. Sometimes we don't think we matter, but we do. Sometimes we don't think we make a difference in our careers or in our work field. You do. And sometimes we maybe don't feel important, maybe in a relationship or family situation or in a neighborhood, but you are. And we always got to, I tell my officers that all the time, you keep that in, because our own worst enemy lives in our brain. We battle them.
And that's keeping it real right there. That's definitely keeping it real. Yeah. Then, so what actually, Leah, first, any viewers at home, so if anybody's viewing this from a group, because I utilize StreamYard for the broadcast, you have to allow Facebook or allow StreamYard access to your Facebook profile. That way you can make comments, because, Stephen and I, we do encourage you guys to ask questions and then communicate with us, because, what we're addressing, we need feedback, in order for us to, maintain what we do and for us to be able to provide resources. It's kind of what Stephen just said. If a closed mouth don't get fed, if we don't know you need it, we can't provide it. So if there's questions out there, even if they've been answered by a million other people, ask the questions and we'll give you the insight. So we do encourage you guys to actually engage, in this conversation, be a part of the conversation. If somebody actually wants to come on to the stream to ask Stephen questions to converse with him, I can send you the link for that as well too. But
that's why I get nervous about it. See, when I do a live studio show, I usually do it from one place. I do live Facebook, and then I share it on. Everybody finds me unless I get censored by Facebook. But then when I do a studio show where I have a live entertainment and everything, people are trying to find it. Live entertainment and everything. I do it from a studio, a professional recording studio. And when that's done, when I do it from there, they have to send out a link. So usually it sees coming from a group, and they get nervous because they usually just see me go live. But that's what's going to be here. So if anybody's watching it, or they're going to watch it later, I know I would love to get on. Just go to the page, right? Click it. You'll be on it. Accept the StreamYard, and then you can interact. Start asking questions.
So if you're actually engaging with your followers as we're doing this, if you let them know, so that post that got shared to you share on your page, if they click on the actual image, it'll start playing the video, because it'll say like the video is scheduled for like 3 minutes or is going live. If they tap on that, they'll actually see you and I right now, and that's how they'll actually start being able to comment. So it's tricky. It's kind of a.
Unfortunately, if they don't do it, I guarantee when I reshare it, you're gonna have a lot of questions you gotta look at. You might have to answer it from later on, but they're gonna definitely say hello. And I just want to say, in this field we're in, I believe in teamwork. That's what life's all about. My police department, military, my department, all first department is teamwork. I believe in helping out everybody on my show, but also networking with you and other people. And I believe that anybody gets the good word out, helps somebody from taking their life or thinks twice, is perfect. So I just want to give you one stat. In 2021, up to October 22nd, police officers, 371 died line of duty. That means they died from a car accident, being shot, somewhere, heart attack on duty, somewhere, and then 120 officers in the United States took their lives so far this year. 3 in NYPD active, and we have numerous retired. And that's why I went out and did this show. And that's why I do my show every Wednesday night live, 7 o'clock, Facebook page, Keeping It Real with Steve Michael, and also YouTube page, Keeping It Real with Steve Michael.
That's what I'm actually typing the ticker right now as we speak. I had it up and I forgot to save it when I brought you on, and it cleared it out. If I tap out of the box, it clears it. It's weird. But that's one of the things too. So I just made a commercial earlier today in regard to that, because a lot of people don't understand how high deaths are with suicide and while in the line of duty. A lot of people don't realize the numbers are staggering, of how many officers take their lives. And, individuals in the civilian sector they're limited to only seeing what the media chooses to provide to them. They don't understand that, especially like with paramedics. Day after day, they're seeing one traumatic event after another. And to be able to store that and almost like feeling like there's nobody there, I can't imagine it. I mean, even though I have my own personal traumas that I've, been exposed to, it's still that, everybody holds it differently and responds differently. And it's just, some people are afraid to expose themselves that shit's going on, but it's the
suicide and depression. It becomes a stigma. It shouldn't be a stigma, because 50 million people suffer from some kind of mental disorder a year. 50 million people. If you look at it, first responders, we see the worst of the worst. They respond: firemen, paramedics, EMS, police officers, court officers, correction officers, sheriffs. I don't want to leave it. Military. And I'm going to say, so when I do my show, I give out phone numbers for everybody out there. Suicide National Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. Over 22 veterans a day commit suicide. That is a staggering number. Like I say, your show, I already know that. My show, we're friends in the military that served and are serving. You always have a place to talk. Please don't give up. And then I also tell you my job, I get my job, but firemen and EMS have a hotline, 1-888-731-3473. You can call that one. But on my job, I'm NYPD. So Suicide National Hotlines for everybody, 1-800-273-8255. Everybody should be calling that number. But on my job, I'm a member of POPPA, which is a police organization providing peer assistance. I'm an active member of NYPD police officer. I'm a inspector. I run Transit Anti-Terrorism, NYPD. But we have active officers and retired. And that's a hotline that's independent and it's confidential and it's independent from the police department, where if you need help just to talk, vent, or you really need a 1013, which we call in our job 1013 when someone needs assistance, help. If you're really going through something, we call that line. And what happens is,
what's the number?
Yeah, I got it right here. Ready? POPPA. It is. Let me give it to 1-888-267-7267, or make it easy, 1-888-COPS-COP. And that number is for active or retired New York City police officers.
And the ones answering the phone are actually
they call in a hotline and leave a answer on the answer machine. We're on call 24 hours. So we'll get once every 6 weeks. I'll be on call for 24 hours. I'll have a backup. We get it in the middle of the night. We get beeped. We call that number. We get the message. I reach out right to the person who's calling, and we try to get him help. Sometimes, thank God, it's about venting, and sometimes it's really serious. And when we get into this stigma of it, a lot of times on my job or all jobs, they're afraid to ask for help because they'll everybody say you on. I don't know. Hold on. They all hit me up on my thing. Yeah, I'm on. I guess we're gonna share it later. But they're afraid, and they're afraid that something could happen if they're having a bad day. And it's not that way. It's come a long way. My police department, all police departments are coming to the modern day that there's help out there. We don't want anybody to hurt themselves. So I tell everybody, 11 years ago, I went through the worst of the worst in my life. I went through a personal hardship, divorce, a professional setback, and then my mother died at the same time. And I found myself in a situation where it's sink or swim. I had two beautiful children. I'm getting divorced, and my ex wanted to split him up. My son came with me. It's weird, but he was 13 years old. I had to swim. And at that moment in my life, I didn't know I could do it. You know, I had no one really to lean on at the beginning. It was myself. And I realized that God has a message for all of us, and God puts us through. So now, what I tell everybody, through the years, now it's 2021, 11 years later, I realized that I'm glad I went through that circumstances. I wish I could. I don't want to go through it again, but I'm glad God chose me, because I'm able to help people now, help the people that are broken, lost, abandoned, like I was, the lighthouse. And the biggest thing is I lost a lot of friends off the job, family members off the job to suicide. I lost some coworkers that were higher ranking than me, or peers at the same rank or lower that I knew very well that took their life. And I always wondered, they know what I do. They watch my show, motivational, and they always came to me. But at the end, they try to avoid the light. And I always question myself, you know, should I seen a sign? And I'll get into that later about the signs. But sometimes we can have a sign, but sometimes it's masked. And then there's a lot of signs together where it's a lot easier to pick up when it's more than one, you know, met the sign that people go through, a warning, you know. So I lost recently. I have to tell you this: a couple of years ago, Chief was a very close friend of mine. He was retiring. He took his own life, and I do a show. His sister follows me, and everybody's very happy with that. And I mean, they follow. It's a family, my show. But I just lost a friend, an inspector that I knew for a long time. He took his own life on an active member of service in NYPD. And every time, it takes a piece of you. When you do POPPA, it takes a piece of you to help everybody. But when you lose somebody you know, it takes a little piece of you every time. But that's why you do your show, and that's why I'm here to help.
You know, and if I'm not mistaken, you know, 30-year career, you know, it's still active, you know, NYPD. So that 30-year career, you were a part of 9/11. Am I correct? Or do you want to talk about that? I mean, does that bother you to talking about that? Or, you know, because speaking of the suicide awareness and everything else too, a lot of people don't realize the trauma. It's you can't even really put words on it. I mean, you know, we've seen it from home TV, and a lot of people have seen it from home TV. 9/11, when that happened, they brought, you know, surrounding states, asked for support and things like that to come in. But, you know, still it's the actual impact of being there and seeing, you know, fellow brothers and sisters, you know, even the civilians and things as well. But it had to have played a major, major role, not even just then. You know, it's things like that, you know, get carried through time. So during your time in, so, I mean, is that something that today that still keeps you ready for like preparedness, or, you know, trying to help others in kind of dealing with trauma?
So I remember that day very vividly. I had the afternoon election duty in New York that day. It was a beautiful, beautiful day in New York. I watched on TV in the beginning, and then I knew something was going on. I ran into work. And what I can tell you is 9/11, it lives in everybody. What I remember mostly, besides the pain, is everybody came together, which in this world right now is unfortunately a lot of divisiveness. But I'll tell you, that day I went in, they mobilized us all. And you know what was funny is where it happened. I was working in Brooklyn, and it was like right by the bridge, right there. We would have been right in it. And I had the afternoon election duty. I would have been over there with my boss who ran the precinct that day. But he had the afternoon, so I came in with him. And I came in early. Otherwise, I would have been over there. Like a lot of my friends went into the building before they even knew what was going on. And let me tell you, when I demobilized and they held us because they were worried, everybody was, you know, disappeared. They couldn't find a lot of people. It was chaos down there. They mobilized us to go in. So we're in Brooklyn Navy Yard, right across the water. You can see the fire. And then when we go in there, to tell someone it was like a surreal. It was a movie studio. I'm standing on a mountain where the buildings used to be, and it's not there. And everybody's frantic because we all believe we could help someone. Someone's buried out there. And we all, you know, everybody's coming in. We're hoping. We hear Mayday. You can't find them. Can't find the fireman. You couldn't find the cop. It was crazy. When I say surreal, it was surreal. But what I take from it I lost some friends that I knew very well, and I lost some people that were born in my neighborhood that were firemen. And what I could tell somebody is this: people were heroes that day. And when I would talk about it, I'll talk about world, the towers down there, but there were heroes in the Pentagon. There were heroes in Shanksville on the plane. There were heroes that day that you never know. And what I tell you about the first responders, what I tell you about police officers, firemen, everybody, and the people that were down there, when it comes to call to save people, that's what we do. And the people that were leaving the building, they were trying to save each other too. And that's the best of humanity. I can tell someone. So what do we take from it? Besides anniversaries, you got a lot of pictures we look at. Well, you go every once in a while, you go back to that place, you visit it, and you just think about the pile. People were there and they're gone. And you think about the frantic, and you think about coming home all full of dust. I go to every year 9/11. I got to go to my doctor's appointment in December again in Mount Sinai. And we all worry, is your turn to get, because it's still taking lives afterwards. So what I got to tell somebody is, leaders were born that day, but there were heroes all around, angels. Angels, men and women working that went into a building, and men and women and people that worked in that building.
That didn't even have to.
Didn't even have to. And there's people in that building that had to go down all these floors. And I'll tell you this: the worst thing about it, I would say, by the time we got down there, it was the bodies weren't dropping. They already dropped. But hearing over the radio and watching it later on, man, that's I'll tell you what takes me back to a bad time is just watching the people, just jumping out the windows because it's a better option than burning to death. And chaplain judge, he passed away. He was on the scene, and there's videos of him. There's a documentary, 9/11. He's a fire department chaplain, and he was walking in there. And when they moved out, a body fell on top. He died, and they carried him. And it was just crazy. When I got down there, the vehicles were destroyed by the buildings, but they were destroyed by bodies too. And wow, it's something I would say the military. God bless the military, the men and women, that they see that when they go into combat, they see it. And I would say it was the closest to real combat that I wouldn't, I don't know how to explain it, but for somebody, you don't want to be there. And I just say thank you to everybody that responded. Thank you for everybody afterwards. Thank you for all the people that support law enforcement, that support first responders, the firemen, the military, the corrections, or the court officers, the EMS. I'm missing something. All first responders in the military. I'm glad that this world majority supports the men and women that put a uniform on or go to serve the country, not knowing if they're gonna come home later on, or not knowing if they're gonna come to their family.
Well, another thing too that when we talk about trauma, it's one thing to see the carnage. It's one thing to see another individual die. Okay, but with first responders. Another trauma that gets stacked on top of that is that we always play in our mind of what we could have done that maybe could have prevented their passing. And that in itself is such a trauma that, again, the citizen sector, civilian sector doesn't really kind of grasp that aspect of it. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's tragic seeing somebody die and the things you go through, but that mind screw that what could I have done to have pulled them from this? Or, because and then now you say you got double the trauma. And now every instance past that is kind of like the hypervigilance, if you will, as far as, because trying to make right because you're blaming yourself, even though it was out of your control, we still do that self-blaming that, it's my fault that this happened, So, I mean, how much of that do you yourself, did you yourself ever experience that of, hey, maybe if I would have been in this, section that I could have done something, or, because that's a big trauma that a lot of people don't like to admit. Number one, that's why you and I are having this discussion. And then two, that it's carried. Because what do you do with that? How do you overcome that? Yeah, it's easy to tell ourselves, oh, I couldn't have done nothing. But the reality of that trauma is so heavy. Well,
I'll tell you this is a few years ago, And with trauma, I'll say that lingers. But I'll tell you what hurts more when you steal it is when an officer calls over radio 1013. And I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I responded the next morning, but just missed. I mean, for a couple hours. But I was a duty inspector working in the Bronx, and Detective Brian Mulkeen was killed in the line of duty. He was shot. I responded. At the moment, it was chiefs above me, but I'm handling the crime scene. I'm handling the officers. And I want to tell you, when you see men and women, grown men and women, when you have to go back to that work with them, they lost them, and go back who responded on the scene and watch an officer die, and they take them to the hospital, and then you have to talk to them, and that's where God comes through me. I would tell you, I went back. That was probably the toughest part of my job, going to see men and women. It could be my son, it could be my sons and daughters, could be the same age, and I'm coming in to talk to them that they just lost a brother that was shot and killed in a line of duty, and to talk to everybody and watch grown men and women cry and listen to me when God speaks to me to give solution. And I tell you, that was probably the hardest. And that's what I say. Sometimes when we handle something, it could have been a minute earlier, could have been a minute second later, could have been 30 seconds this way. Could I been there? Could we went right instead of left to go into it? And then it's God's plan how it goes. And some people get out of it. They're tired. Some people get it. And what I tell my officers is that they never give up, because every day we put on a uniform, every day you get out of bed, you're a hero. Everybody. And I do my show, I tell everybody, every day you get out of bed, we don't know what someone's battling. And when I do my show, it's for everybody. Everybody's battling the battle we don't even know. And the mere fact you can get out of bed, you won already. The mere fact that you can get to the bathroom and take a shower finally, or bath, you won already. The mere fact that you could get something in your stomach, you ate something, you won already. The mere fact you get out the front door, you won already. But we don't see that. A lot of us,
Admiral McRaven, make your bed. That whole speech in that book, you know what I mean? It's just that, hey, I did this, I accomplished something, So,
and you're right. You brought him up. That's a perfect scenario. And everybody, what is he saying? Like you say, he accomplished something. It gives you structure, but it gives you something to look forward to. So I got that task. And when we talk about mental depression, sometimes if you give people like something to look forward to, like a schedule, sometimes they get through the sadness, depression a little quicker because they look forward to. They don't have to get this done. They don't have to be here at this time, and they have to go here and go there. And I tell everybody, my profession, but everybody out there, you never know what someone's battling. Robin Williams is the funniest guy in the world, one of the best comedians, but he battled a serious illness, depression, and no one knew. Everybody.
And one of the things, though, too, is like, a lot of times we kind of take things for granted. And I'm glad you brought that specific individual up and his career, about how it's hidden, because, a lot of us mask pain with smiles and laughs, and like knowing that he committed suicide or knowing things like that. And you go back and you look at the movies that he did, and you look at like some of the different interviews like years before, and he was stating about how he would never take a role that he himself couldn't relate to. So then when you go back and you look at those movies, it puts it in a whole new light, that even though it was a script written up by some writer, directed by some director, it was still, and that's why he played those roles with so much emotion, so much passion, is because he really related to that. So a lot of those roles were depressed or really going through something, because it was a self-relation to himself. And the same thing with, the men and women first responders, is that, they see so much, and family and friends, they should start being more attentive to that. I mean, you don't want to be too pressured on them, but sometimes you have to be direct and, blatantly ask somebody that, hey, is something bothering you? I really don't think that happens enough. I'm not trying to blame or discourage any kind of family of first responders, but I just implore, to be more active. I know a lot of times, as first responders, oh, nothing's bothering me, everything's fine, but you should be able to have those, pay attention to the signs, the littlest things and things like that. And I'm going to be, speaking with Steve here shortly about, different signs or things to look for, or ways to approach, your significant other or family or friend, just to make sure. And I mean, because, you don't have to be an officer, you don't have to be EMT, you don't have to be a first responder to do a buddy check. You know, I mean, anybody can do a buddy check, you know, check on individuals, make sure they're all right, because every day that a uniform is put on and they go into work, trauma is experienced. Trust and believe that. So
It's perfect. And like when I talk to, like when I do my show, so I don't know the impact I have, and I still don't know it, but I hear a lot of time I'll get emails in the inbox, Facebook, or someone will tell me, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. You know how many people you're helping. And again, I always say, you know, God helps. We just try to give hope. And when I do my show, it's about faith, hope, inspiration, mental health awareness. And the second half, I get very happy. I do music. I do interact with the audience. And we do virtual vacation with my DJ Brian. And we move people to make them leave happier. But I'll tell you this. God's, in a lot of ways we talk about it, but there was a thing about crayons. Even broken crayons still could draw beautiful pictures. And a lot of people realize that, you know, life's about disappointments at times, failures, regrets, heartache, but also life's about triumph, getting back off the canvas, never giving up. And what I state on my show all the time is never give up. No matter how dark it is, you can't give up. There's always a lifeline out there. You could reach out. And I'll say these two stats I tell every show. 85% of people that want to take their life only want to stop the pain. They don't want to die. So right there, 85% of people, if you can interact with them and get them help, they want to live. They don't want to stop the pain, the broken record. And then there's 80 to 90% of people with who suffer from serious depression with therapy and medication can get help. So 80 to 90% of people with therapy and medication can get help. And remember this, 85% of people only want to stop the pain. They don't want to die. So there's hope. And I always talk about the young man that jumped off the Brooklyn, Golden State Bridge. And
that's a good story.
And he survived. He survived. And he interviewed him. And all he said, people walking by, he wanted one person to stop and ask him. And one person said, take a picture. And they said, how are you? And I always say, if you ask somebody, you walk in the room and say, hey, how are you? They'll talk. If people talk, they just want someone to know that they still matter. They still care. And
well, you know, that's one of the big things that I push is kind of like almost like a tagline with me is that, or a conversation, because it kind of sickens me, but I'm blunt about a lot of things. And I point out, you know, the infallibles that we all have, but it's that, you know, how we we keep it generalized to where, you know, we pass hundreds of people every day. We really don't like conceptualize it or anything else like that. But I don't care if it's the grocery store, the gas station, anywhere you go, your place of employment. And then we just pass individuals, and in passing, hey, how you doing today? The moment an individual would stop and say, oh my God, Steven, I'm glad you asked me this. It's been like, you start looking at that watch, like, oh, hey, I got to be over here. And it's like we're asking individuals that question, which is a question. But the moment that somebody's really wanting to convey to you an issue or something that you could have ultimately saved their life, you know, looking at it, the extreme aspect of it, we run from it. And that is sickening when you think about it, you know, to where we all have the ability to make a difference in somebody else's life, regardless of what we're going through. You know, that may be that thing we got to do today was, hey, I saved somebody's life, or just not even saved it, but made it better. But, you know, if you turned somebody's depression into a smile for 10 minutes, you saved their life for 10 minutes, regardless of how you look at it, you know? So,
and you know, you don't even realize, you know, everybody's a Forrest Gump. And what I say is everybody has a story. If you just listen, everybody has a story. Everybody's doing. And you know what I believe, and you're very genuine. I could tell right away. But a lot of people watch my show or they interact with me in public because I'm genuine. I speak from the heart. I have no problem in showing my flaws, that what I've been through. But I also show how I got off the canvas and how you can never stop moving forward. And what a lot of people want, and I'll say this: you ask me what's the signs. I'll tell you very simply. I made up myself is a body. Look at yourself in the mirror, right? You want to know what serious depression is, right? You know what anxiety is? We all have anxiety. The night we sleep in bed, you can't sleep. You look at the mirror, the ceiling, you can't. Everything's going through your head. Lionel Richie's playing a song, dancing on the ceiling, make believe. You know, but anxiety lives in the back of your brain. I call it the attic of your mind. 85% of your mind can solve everything. 15% the attic. It's like a holiday. Let's put the Halloween. Let's put the Christmas tree up. The attic controls your whole mind. So the anxiety lives there. So you look at your head, what's serious depression? What could be is anxiety, it lives in your head. Then you got heartache, heartbreak, hopelessness, and helplessness. It's in your heart, the Tin Man. All right? The Tin Man. You want the brain, you got the calorie line, that anxiety. You want the heartache, heartbreak, hopelessness, helplessness. It lives in your heart. And that's where broken hearts, and now your brain and heart don't get along. And then we have guilt and grief. It lives in your gut, your stomach. Look in the mirror. You gain weight a lot quickly, or you lose weight quickly from serious depression. And the last thing is when you look in the mirror and your isolation. And you add them all together because you look in the mirror, you don't see no one else but yourself. You isolate yourself. So you could be seriously depressed, be in a room right now with 1,000 people. If you got anxiety in your head, heartbreak, helplessness, hopelessness in your heart, and you have guilt and grief in your gut, and you're isolating where the lights are on, no one's home. Robin Williams, cruise control. You get to point A to point B, you don't know how to get there. And that, in a nutshell, for real warnings, I can give you, if you drink too much, you drink too much alcohol, beer, or anything, you drink to get up, you drink to go to lunch, you drink in the afternoon, you drink to go to sleep, or you take prescription medicine too much. If you lose things, you lose what you would like to do. You stop doing what you like to do, you lose interest in, maybe you're going bowling every week with your friends, going to church, going paint night, wine and sip, whatever you do, and you stop going. That's another sign. You add them all together, it becomes a big, right now, one thing, one here, maybe not, you don't guess. Then you got, isolation. The people that don't answer the phone, don't answer the door, can't get in touch with them, the voicemail and inbox, you have to pay a visit to them. All right. But when you add these things together, and then you have people that want to think about suicide, and that's all you wind up. They Google everything, how to die. They talk about it nonstop. There's another sign. And then you have people that, very agitated, very high strung, maybe, but more not 3 days, maybe 7 days or 10 days straight. They can't get out of that feeling. There's signs out there. But when you add them all together, it becomes a hurricane of grief. And, and then a lot of times they're giving stuff away. That's a big sign. So, or they're telling you, if anything happens to me, look in my drawer. I got the will there. I got the this here. I got that. They're plotting it, and you're like, oh, where are you going? That's the question you got to ask. And I tell everybody when I'm trained to do POPPA, and now what could you do to stop this? There's many things. You don't have to be trained, but you have to have 2 ears and one mouth. A lot of time when people are talking, you got to listen. And then when they get a pause, you jump in. But you can't be judgmental. You can't shame them. You can't say, oh, is that all you're going through? I'm going through A, B, and C. You're only going through A. Because that A, whatever they're going through, could be the worst thing in their life, and it's drowning them. And then you got to give them hope. And that's what my show's about. Hope is things will get better, can get better. So you don't have to be professionally trained. And then you're going to stay there, and you're going to listen to them, and you're going to get them help. All right? But the word, you have to ask them, for anybody out there watching this show or will watch this show, and it's something we hate doing, but we have to do when we do POPPA. You have to ask them one question. Do you want to kill yourself? You're not, do you want to hurt yourself? Because a lot of people want to hurt themselves by not eating, by not getting sleep. I can hurt myself, bang my head against it. No, you have to ask them, do you want to kill yourself? And then you have to tense up and listen. And if they say yes, then we have it. You got to get over there. If they're on the phone, you got to talk to them, keep on the phone. If you're in the house with them, you got to look for anything that can hurt them, cut themselves, or pills or belts. And we're going to stay with them. And you're going to stay with them. And you're going to make appointments with them to get help. And if it means you have to go pick them up, you're going to get them. But you got to give them hope, not to give up. And you're going to ask them, why today? Why not? Why today you want to throw in the towel? Why
and then earlier when I made that comment about, family and friends of first responders and military, about being direct, that's what I was getting at. And you said it perfect right there. It's just that, sometimes we have to come out of our comfort zone to bring them back to theirs, and being that direct, it'll click, it'll open that attic door in the back of their mind, as you beautifully put it, to where if somebody's being asked directly like that, they're going to start thinking about the signs that they've been conveying to their loved ones. Oh my, why would you even ask me that? Because then it's going to actually start to get them thinking and maybe open up about some of the baggage or how filled that attic is. So I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad you put it in the perspective that you did, because that's beautifully put. And it's just that, hope is what gets an individual to crawl out of bed that day. It really is. So
Well, I'll tell you what, for me. So when I was in my lowest of lows, you know, it's something to get you out. So I always say, like, when we talk about Joseph in the Bible, he was thrown into the well um, by his brothers. They're going to kill him. Then they sold him to slavery. God put a greed into the one brother. And he said, no, let's make money. And then he was did the right thing, thrown into the dungeon, never gave up. So when I tell you, the well of depression, we all go there. Sometimes we never get out. But sometimes we get out and we realize we got out. We always know how to get out. So what helped me a lot when I went in my darkest times, I like to read, the Bible. I like to read Mitch Albom. I like to read Max Lucado. He talks about faith, motivation.
Awesome.
Max Lucado. So I know where the faith is a big thing. So a lot of people, when I deal with them, they tell me they had a lot of faith and right now they stopped. And I try to tell them, go back to reading a little. Whatever you got to read the Bible. If it's faith-based what you read, please go back to doing it. And I realize every time we're at the darkest, lowest point, really, they give up with the faith part. That was the last stumbling block. And I always say that we battle ourselves. I wrote something about being a boxer in life. And there's two things when we battle ourselves. One, the greatest foe we fight every day in our life is life. That's the champion we fight as a boxer, everybody. But we don't fight life every day. The one we fight every day, we shadow box. We box ourselves. And a lot of times we beat ourselves up unnecessarily. And ourselves know us better. They want to break even, but we let them knock us out. And what happens a lot of times, before you get in battle life, we beat ourselves down with guilt, grief, regrets, the inner tattoos we wear that no one else sees. When we go in the mirror, they pop out. And I tell everybody, you gotta have faith. You gotta have gratitude. Every day we get up is a new day, a new beginning, a new day of redemption, a new day to start over, a new day to say I'm sorry, a new day to ask for forgiveness or give forgiveness. And it's a gift from God because we don't know how many days we have. And I tell everybody that because a lot of time, one good day could get you off the teetering of I want to stay in this world, depression. Maybe I want to check out. 1,000%. So I try to push everybody to go forward, positivity, to never give up. And that's what we do. But suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. That's when you
actually last year it was the leading cause of death. There was 47,184 suicides just last year alone, and that is insane. And then when you look at the numbers of the first responders that are a part of that statistic, it's breathtaking. It's sad, and it's just that we as civilians, we as brothers and sisters of the first responders, need to do more. We really do. I mean, that's not asking too much for us to do a buddy check on our family or friends or fellow brothers and sisters.
So when you brought right before about first responders, we take it with us. So part of it is we survivor's guilt. You take a lot of it, you see death every day, military, and then you wonder why how come you're here and they're not? And you think about it.
Well, another thing too is I'm glad you brought up, just that conversation we just got done having about the books you read and about the hope and everything else too, because like with Max Lucado, but another great one too, and I use this as a point of reference when I speak to individuals for like the suicide awareness, prevention, and everything else. That Rick Warren wrote a book, The Purpose-Driven Life, and when that is the biggest, I think, the conundrum that we as first responders, when we go in because that purpose is that I want to help individuals. I want to save individuals. I want to make the community for my family, myself, everything else a better place to be. And that's my purpose. But in the line of work, when you're and you got to figure law enforcement, you're dealing with the bottom 3-5% of society every day. So, and then seeing that, you take an you can go into the career, having the purpose, having the passion, and being optimistic. What you see in the trauma and the tragedies day in and day out, it can turn that optimist into a pessimist, which actually feeds into that, to where a lot of individuals, we fall opposite of our purpose because we don't. Because we have to feed our passions, we have to feed our purpose. And then when we're seeing that every day, a lot of times we question ourselves. Like you just said, survivor's guilt. And that survivor's guilt, and like you just said, I think that survivor's guilt is one of the biggest constraints or a noose that is strung around our purpose and our passions, you know. So
you brought about feeding optimism, pessimistic. So I always tell a story that's about the two wolves. All right. So an old Cherokee grandfather was telling his grandson, and he says, "Grandfather, there are about two wolves that live inside of us." And he says, "Which one wins?" Well, there's a dark wolf that, you know, is anger, is bitterness, jealousy, it's giving up, it's everything bad. And then the white wolf or the gray wolf, whatever, the different wolf, he lives in us, and that's hope, that's happiness, that's looking out for each other, and that's getting, you know, forgiveness. And the young grandson asked, "Well, which one wins?" And he says, "Whichever one you feed the most." And what you said about that is, if you feed yourself more positivity, we're gonna be positive. You feed ourselves negativity, we're gonna stay negative. If we feed ourselves just a little bit of gratitude every day, we will get out of that to be more like the wolf that's positive. And that's when you brought that up about who you feed, I always go back to that story about the native grandfather, native Cherokee grandfather, that telling his grandson, you know, there's two wolves in us, you know, they're at war with each other. And
that's
he's like,
that's great, man. I love that, and it's just that it's the truth. It's the truth. You know, and again, that's why, you know, I always go back to, because I truly believe that the first step in awareness, the first step in prevention, is that in of our families, our friends, our fellow brothers and sisters in law enforcement, first responders in general, military, you know, to where it's just that you have to revive that positivity. You know, when somebody's just had the days that they have, I mean, it's just because again, going back to what I was saying as far as how we generalize the question of, "Oh, hey, Stephen, how's your day going today?" "Oh, let's go." "Oh, but I had this thing." "Oh, well, look at the time," you know, and it's that same sense to where, just like we ask somebody, "Hey, you know, how you doing today?" You know, when you come home and the spouse, significant other, family, friend, or whatever the case may be, "Well, how'd your day go?" It becomes so programmed sometimes to where, you know, the answer may be the same every day, but hey, is it really? There has to be that extra dig to actually, you know, kind of find out and clean that attic out. I mean, we have to go into our attics every now. I love that analogy that you brought up. I mean, that's perfect. You know, sometimes we have to dust the attic. The attic collects a lot of dust, you know, so.
No. But what I was thinking, when we battle, you know, life's like a seesaw, you know, there's the highs, you go up, and the lows. And sometimes, I don't know, if you get the same weight on each person, it stays in the middle. And so I always tell everybody, there's three kind of days: thumbs up, which is a great day; thumbs in the middle, which is okay day; and thumbs down, which is a bad day. And it's okay to have a lot of thumbs in the middle day. That's a good day. You know, you got two good days there: thumbs up, thumbs in the middle. If you have too many thumbs down day, you need to find someone to talk to. You know, talk to someone you trust, talk to a therapist, talk to somebody in religious field you want to talk to. You talk to someone. You're not alone. Because when you realize whatever you're going through, a lot of people going through the same thing in this world. And I always say this. Another thing I have to leave with when I talk about this is that we're more alike. Everybody out there battling a battle. If you ask everybody, you cut them open, they bleed red. All right? We're all the same in one way. You know, God made us different. We don't look, you know, in His likeness, but not like each other. So we're rare diamonds, but we're all the same because we all worry about death, disease, children, family, worrying about work, paying bills. We all got the same fears. So once you get to know that, we all can lean on each other. Some people rather not get caught up in it because they're going through something else. But I realize even when I'm going through something else, that I have time to talk to somebody. You know, in the back of my mind, I say, okay, all right, you're helping them, and I stay there and listen. And then sometimes I need to unplug, and I tell that to everybody. It don't mean you're not being there, but sometimes, like charge a cell phone, electric, to plug it in. We need to unplug sometimes. Stay away from TV, social media, just to recharge yourself. Maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you're going through a lot, and sometimes we don't want to talk to everybody, and that's okay. But you can't do it too many days like that. But you need to unplug and recharge yourself. That's the most important thing.
You know, and that's the thing though too, and it's just like, you know, simple things too. Like nature's a great healer. that a lot of people don't take advantage of. I mean, you look at parks, like when I grew up, my time, my generation, when I grew up, the parks were filled. Go to a park nowadays, you know, it's free enjoyment for the family. It's serenity, it's tranquility, it's everything combined, beauty. But it's like nobody's taking advantage of that. And sometimes you don't have to be a walker, a hiker, or anything like that. But sometimes just that stroll in the park, or just go and sit, or go do lunch with a friend or something like that. I mean, a buddy check, or take your lunch there, or just. I mean, like you just said. I mean, you keep bringing up so many great points. That's why I wanted to have you on here. You're genius. But it's
you're bringing up self-care right there. The park, nature. There's a lot of things, and when they teach, like self-care, whatever makes you happy, do it. If it's going to the spa, if you want to get your nails done, if it's go walking, exercising, if it's painting, you have to give yourself. They love meditation. I can't do it. I tried it a couple of times. I fell asleep, but it's meditation. Yoga is another thing you could do. There's little things, whatever gives you happiness, you look forward to doing self-care. Because, and I'll tell you this, because I read this one time, and it's great. If I ask you to list everything that you love, right? How long would you ever, or how long would it take to say yourself? And there's the answer.
Should be the first answer.
That's your first answer?
No, I'm saying it should be an individual's first answer. If you that's a great. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you ask somebody, name one good quality about yourself.
Yeah,
but we don't stutter and stammer over the words. It's like, I'm a good talker. It's like,
and I say this, for first responders, military, we do it for everybody. If someone came to you, if a child needed help, would you help them? Of course. If a stranger needed help, would you help them? Of course. If an elderly lady needed to be walked across the street, would you help them? Of course. Then why can't you help yourself? And helping yourself is asking for help. A stronger person. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's a sign of strength to ask for help. Stigma is gone. Mental health is number one. Depression is 50%. Like I say, 50 million people have it. Suffers more common. And some people say, nah, I've never said. I tell someone, if you're not sad 365 days, at least one day that whole year, or you didn't have a setback or anything, I want to know what you have. Follow it up and let's put it out there for everybody else, because it's impossible. We all have a bad day. We all have a setback. We all get the bad news sometimes, a call, a disappointment. But we always know how to bounce back into the game. And that's what we do. Like a duck, the water rolls off the back. Eventually, sometimes a duck goes underwater. We can't be like a duck. They always say be like a duck, the water goes off the back. I agree. But you don't want to duck go underwater when they go underwater for what? Because then we drown ourselves. So I agree. But sometimes, and I just got to say this, why watch my show? If you've never seen me watching the show, and for everybody that watches my show, or will watch it later on in this interview when I share it on my page, Mike's a great guy. I'm definitely going to come back in. His heart's in the right place. I want you to support him too. But for people who would never watch my show, I do have it on YouTube, Keeping It Real with Stephen Michael. That's it. I have it on Facebook, Keeping It Real with Stephen Michael page. When I do my show, Stephen Mauriello, every Wednesday night, live 7 o'clock. Why do you want to watch this show? I'll tell you why. Because
Wednesday,
you get this, and 10%.
Did you say Wednesday? Did you say Wednesday?
7 o'clock Eastern time, live. And then when I do my big shows, it's every 2 months, 3 months. I do it live from Paradise Studios. That's a Saturday night. I have live music. All first responders play for me. I had Lahara Band, all police officers, NYPD, very good. I had Makia Brown, a ceremony unit police officer at NYPD. She sang. I had Greg Mackey, who's a commander in NYPD. He sang Billy Joel and Elton John. I do all first responders for a reason. They're great. I got a lot of talent, and I like to do the show, build it up with that, and we talk. And I bring a lot of guests when I do it. I have a lot of good guests I want to send your way, I think, because it's a great experience that I brought on my show that the husband might have committed suicide. I'd
like to do a duality with you as well, too, and because we can have up to besides ourselves, so we could actually have 8 more guests that we can converse and everything else too. And I'm going to actually provide you my StreamYard account, because then you could actually do a share screen and provide some of the different statistics and stuff like that as well.
I'll you anytime. I'll be partners with you, but just can't do it Wednesday night. I got my thing. But I definitely I would love to combine. You're in Boca Raton. Give me somewhere to look forward to. Florida, me and my wife. And you can come to New York and look forward to here. But I definitely would like to, because you're doing great work You got. I watched a lot. You do it for military. You do it for everybody. I like a show is for everybody because everybody battles depression. But you do great work out there. You got a good heart. You're a genuine person, and I believe in like this. I'll leave it like this. There's people out there that watch my show. My DJ says shoot, but there's some people I play nice in the sandbox. I like to push everybody. Other people. There's some shows out there that they look at me as a threat. I don't know why, because I don't get paid to do this. I ain't asked for money. I do this out of kindness of my heart. I give viewers, but they come for me, and I always laugh. I don't know why, because people know genuine. You don't have to tell yourself. They know the truth, and that's why I believe when every time you talk, I watch other videos. You're very good. You talk from the heart, and you're a genuine person, and I appreciate that. That's so good. So I would love to do a show with you, but I'll tell you why Wednesday night, 7 o'clock for me. When we do it, it's the what they say hump day, right? The middle of the week hump day, and there's days I don't want to. I went away on vacation with the family to Arizona, and I went live 4 p.m. out there, 7 here. People go, they want to watch the show. And I realized, like, I have my DJ Brian. He plays music, and I like we talk heavy. And the last 30 minutes, they all have a good time. And why my show and why I want to build up a show with you is because it's family. Everybody that watches, most of the people watching my show know each other. They interact every week. They look forward. They make networking. They love it. And I love to do live studio shows. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to doing live. I like StreamYard, but again, one day I'm going to come down there. The Florida, I like to do live with you. And once you come here, I like live. I like an audio.
And that's what this is like the live. And it's I'm going to have to start putting more instructions on there because, again, the reason I do this is for the engagement.
They don't know how to get on. They do my live studio show. They drive me crazy. I'm about to go on live. How do we get on? I have the links. They used to just popping up. They don't. They have to push on it, and now you're on it. They don't understand
with Facebook because it's even though it's live on Facebook. You know how like Facebook has its own live. I guess the connection between like StreamYard, like that's like what Courtney just commented about the self-care is important. They have to go on there and comment at the bottom, but they may have to like grant StreamYard access to their profile just so that they can show the name on here. I've seen your videos. I see the 473 plus comments to where people are engaged.
That's what I like because and when I do a studio audience, I'm gonna tell you. So you like country music?
I love all genres. I follow the meaning of the music. You know what I mean?
The Mavericks.
Yes.
You heard the Mavericks? The country group. All right. Well, they're coming around New York. I'm trying to get on my show the 15th of December. I'm trying. Freestyle, Judy Torres. I've been trying to work with George Lamont and all them. I'm trying to get. I do first respond, but I'm trying to get. This way they get to push themselves out there, but I get people that make mental health awareness in their fields that see us and maybe come to us now and then for help, or they positivity and they go for help on their therapy. I like to somehow. There's people out there have a voice, and you would be surprised. I like that. Believe it or not, the NFL, I think it was, they had a commercial about everybody that suffers from depression. And I seen one with the celebrity, but like, and you know what? I like that because you let your guard down. You tell the truth. We all go through it. We all suffer. We all been in that champion. We all been in the well. We all been there, and we all can go there. And that's the thing I have to tell you about depression. We can go there anytime. That's a well that calls your name. It's like the siren on the rocks that brings you boat and you get shipwrecked. But it calls your name. But the difference is once you get out of that well and you beat depression once, you know how to get out of the well again. And that's why I told you, that's why I never give up. Things can be really bad, but the sun eventually comes out. Your redemption comes a day away. Your comeback's a day away. The dark clouds will be pulled away a day away. Sometimes we give up too easy. And sometimes it's a long, like the Bible. You got Moses in the desert 40 years. Joseph thrown in a dungeon 3 days. Jonah in the whale's belly in 3 days. And then you got the prodigal son. I don't even know how long he was gone, but he came back and he felt self-doubt. So when I bring that up, I go all over the place, but I bring it up for a reason. It's too easy to give up on ourselves and give up on life. And don't do it. There's people out there battling for the last breath. We should never take on life. In fact, we should help each other, pick them up off the canvas, and let's move forward in life. And we all go down the yellow brick road. It's not always yellow. Sometimes you go through the weeds. Sometimes you go through the mountains. But guess what? We interact. I went right. Someone went left. But there's a way to be back down the road. And that's why I always tell everybody.
Another thing, too, is that, that's why I always encourage, the listeners or just people when I do my speaking. I always tell individuals that you do not understand how much you can change somebody's day by, if you see a first responder in public, like, I don't care if it's a gas station, restaurant, whatever the case may be, by just saying thank you. You don't have to explain. You don't have to follow it up with for your service or for everything that you, if you just say thank you, every first responder in the nation, in the world, will know what that thank you is for. And sometimes just that acknowledgement, because a lot of times, going back to what you and I were talking about earlier with taking that optimist and turning them pessimistic, it does do that, to where it's that purpose, it's reignited, because a lot of times we know why we're doing things, but when we don't see I'm not going to say acknowledgement, because we don't do it for pats on the back. Just like, you do your show, I do mine, and we're finally both doing this together. I don't do it for pats on the back. I don't do it for monetary reasons. It's because I just want individuals to know and understand. And I know you do it the same way because of the passion there, that it's just sometimes just that one little thank you, that acknowledgement is key, because it puts that purpose back into their life, and it puts that passion.
You said that perfectly. But what I realized is therapeutic for me too, to help other people and help myself. It's there when you do this show and you care. And let me tell you, I have I'm going to 130 episodes this week. That's a lot.
That. Congratulations. That's a lot.
So how do you do it? And you know what? DJ Brian goes crazy because I can pick up stuff like this. A lot of times I write my own stuff. And when I do go into the lab, I write my own stuff. It takes a lot, but I'm in the middle of finishing a book. It's Sunday night thoughts. It's going to be cool. All my motivational stuff I write. And you know what? The problem I realized, I did shirts. And then what happens is people, I feel weird asking people. I mean, I have to eventually, but ask you, like, I make shirts. If it costs me money, that you want to buy, come to my studio. I pay for the studio myself. I paid it, and I make, and I didn't bring up. I have to bring up. So I've been doing the show for a long time, but I had a co-host, Johnny Williams Lawrence. He died June 24th. He's a police officer, died of cancer. He was a co-host. I did 9 episodes with Johnny Williams Lawrence. And a lot of times you see my episode when I have the banner in the back, that's Johnny. All right.
Well, I was gonna ask you that as we progressed along, because I was gonna ask you what that was for. If it was like somebody that like, but
that's my co-host. I call my brother, my friend, my co-host, my co-worker from NYPD. He died of cancer. And I dedicate every show. And I'll tell you, here's a man, and I want to tell you about life. Here's a man that had stage 4 cancer, worked out, helped everybody in the cancer awareness group, helped everybody with Team Body Right, helped people get into shape, came on my show, loved my show because it helped him, but he was helping people, give him strength to keep battling stage 4. This guy was the modern day David going against Goliath cancer. And unfortunately, Goliath won, but he didn't really win. He took his body, but he didn't take his legacy, his soul, and he helped so many people. People love him. I did a tribute show not too long ago, live from Paradise Studios, but his family was there for Johnny. And it's a passion for me to do this but it's also something to keep the memory going with Johnny Williams Lawrence. He's my co-host. It's tough to have he was whenever he could feel like it, he came on when he every other week he had chemo. So for people out there, here's a guy with cancer.
I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to show them your profile and what we're talking about right here, because it's amazing. And you're doing that tribute and keeping him there with you. It's beautiful. So if everybody can see my screen right here, let me do this.
I forget what was it, Dave?
So there's his co-host there. This is his 129th episode right here. If you guys tune in, just go to his page and listen to some of his videos and everything else to his channel when he goes live. And like he said, every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you.
Yeah, I go live on Facebook every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. I know a lot of people don't like Facebook, don't have it, but then people don't go to YouTube. Come watch me on Facebook. There's a reason. I'll share it on YouTube later on when I can. But come watch live, the experience live. You get to see everybody interact, ask questions. But Johnny, I did an episode just recently, my 100th episode live from Paradise Studios. You'll see it differently on my Facebook page. It'll say Paradise Studios. I think we got over 7,500 views, and that's good with Facebook because they censor you can't share it live after one time. And the bottom line is with that one, there's actual live video, and Johnny was on my 100th episode from that studio when he was still here, and I have an interview with Johnny and on the page he's talking, but so people get to know. I also have other videos when I do with Johnny Williams Lawrence. He's a true hero. He gives you a reason to get up in the morning, never give up. For everybody that battles depression, look at Johnny. And Johnny battled it too. When you're battling death, you battle it. And even on his sickest days, he came to do my show. Came through the 100th episode, and he confronted. You know, he talked to me. He confided in me. But I knew he wasn't the best. But you know, I was optimistic. I always think we're gonna do everything until it doesn't happen. But he's a hero. He came on in 2001 when the Academy 9/11, and he's survived by his and his wife Mona Lawrence, Mona Phillips Lawrence. She's a sergeant on the NYPD. That's his wife, and his mother Cheryl, who watches my show. If you watch my show live, you see Cheryl Lawrence, you see Mona Lawrence come on, you see them all on the screen. They all pop up, say hello, and they're part of the family. And that's why I say I like to build something, part two. But I have a family. My show I call it a movement, but it's not a movement because people think it's bad. It's a family. I hear people say, but
it is a family. But there's no reason to correct what you just said. I mean, it is a movement, Stephen. It really is. It is a movement that has to happen, and it needs to happen on a large scale. I mean, it's an epidemic. I mean, it's safe to say it's an epidemic. I mean, the numbers, again, the civilian sector aren't really exposed to it. The media don't want to promote that part of it, which is insane because it's the most vital part of it is the mental health aspect of it and how many, fallen shouldn't have been fallen that could have been prevented by a simple thank you, by asking if they're okay. There's so many different ways. And I'm not saying this to have survivor's guilt on, their spouses, significant others, or things like that. But I'm just doing this as the awareness and prevention, because if we are going to prevent these numbers from increasing, which they're increasing every year, we have to do our part and increase the well-being of our first responders by just a simple thank you or a simple conversation about how things are going. I really believe that.
Now, Billy Joel had a song, "The Stranger," years ago. So about giving faces, the mask, right? But the problem is with when it comes to serious depression, some people could be the happiest person, be breaking on the inside. So it's not always the one. And some people could be the most miserable person, but now they come to work, happy, finally say hello to everybody. Like, oh, what's wrong with this person? They checked out. See, sometimes you do a flip flop when you're battling yourself. The ones who really maybe angry, they become happy because they made their mind up, and then the ones become happy. You don't know they're broken. I had a sergeant on my job. Was the happiest person you ever met. Smiled all the time. You never saw it coming. And one day I got a phone call, and I couldn't believe it because every time you saw this person, they were happy. And I was in the beginning stages when I started, in my dark times. But before I went to POPPA, and I started realizing that sometimes it's not easy to tell who's really depressed or who's really seriously depressed. You can be
one of the things that kind of intensifies what I do and why I do what I do, and some people that know me personally, kind of like know the story and everything too. But things happened in my adulthood too that really, solidified everything. But growing up, I wanted to commit suicide at 10 years old because of how traumatic and abusive my childhood was from as long as I can remember. Having that thought of wanting to kill myself at the age of 10, like going to school or anything else, I was a clown. It was just, I didn't want anybody else to be as miserable as I was, but it was my mask. It was my costume. It was my Halloween every day of the happiness and the laughter and just joking around, because it was my only happiness, was making a fool of myself and seeing other people. I wouldn't care if they were laughing at me. At least I knew that somebody was happy. And it's just, that realization that progressed. So from the age of 10, I was an addict alcoholic to where that was my only emotion. I couldn't feel for you or anybody else unless I was high, drunk, or something, and it took many years for me to realize that there were real emotions, So I get that part of it. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because it's that I understand that a lot of those smiles, the eye's supposed to be the entryway to the soul, to where, sometimes that no matter if there's a smile there, the crunching of the face. And, I got the bachelor's in behavior analysis, and that's one of the things that I still study and, keep up on those studies, because the mannerisms, and you said it earlier, as far as the, watching that body, and having the different stages, and you putting it like that is perfect, because that is the reality of everything.
I made that up about it, but that's why I say it's therapeutic to show, and I know it's going to be. You already got the bug. You're helping people, because you know how it is to be broken, lost, abandoned, forgotten about, lost at the anxiety of the ocean. But you're the lighthouse now, because you overcame all the traumas that you're talking about, and my heart goes out for you with all those traumas you talk about. But you still go visit your depression once in a while, the memories, but you also know how you got out, and you are a hero. For the mere fact that you could help so many people, when you open up and you tell a story like that, you're like, wow, okay, I'm not alone. Guess what? This is what I'm going through. So when I say therapeutic, it's going to be therapeutic for you too, knowing that. And I got to find a way with the StreamYard where we can see the comments right away, because I know everybody, when I reshare it on my page, you're going to see a lot of comments. Everybody, hey, are you on? You're on.
Oh, you don't have to convince me of nothing. I've been following you for a while, and it just took me a while to reach out. I just, and again, kind of like the personality stuff, like from childhood, it's that I watch people from a distance a lot of times, but I pay attention, then I finally like kind of go in like, oh, hey, look, I've been following you for a while. Hey, how's things going? Blah, 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 but, it's and that's what is important, and a lot of times it's a lot of people restrictive, like, oh, they're going to ask for something, you know what I mean? But it really is, for the benefit of other people and stuff like that too. I do this for the engagement, because, I don't know how to build or the things to talk about without other people feeding in. I mean, I have plenty to talk about, but I want the engagement. Like you.
So here's what you said, and I get these people hit me up Tuesday, Monday. What's your show about Wednesday? I'm like, what? They want to know, like, what? It's not like Seinfeld's show about nothing. But sometimes we talk about it's a Wednesday morning when he talks to me up there, and some stuff I actually bared my my last show. I've been promoted on my job. It was a long haul, 13 years. But I'll tell you this, and I bring this for a reason. I give signs. 13 years ago was my last promotion up until Monday the 18th. 11 years
again for that.
Thank you. 11 years ago, I went through my own trauma. And when police officers go through trauma, it's a 1013, as I said before, where we're calling for help. Everybody comes to help you. But in that time in my life, 11 years ago, 2010, my 1013 was, like you say, muffled. Not everybody knew. They knew what I was going through. But guess what? I tell you about God. Now, I get promoted 13 years later. So I got promoted captain in October, deputy inspector in October, and I get promoted inspector in October. 1 month is October 10. What? 13 years is my last promotion. You put that together, it's 1013. You can't make this up. And how did that come to me? Because he told me. I'm thinking, man, he could have promoted me in September. He could have promoted me in December. It wouldn't have added up. 1013. If you don't believe the better place there is, there's signs around us. I got other stories I can tell you about signs with the other things, how my life was going, and God, he has a plan. And I can just tell everybody, your trauma you're going through right now is horrible. And I have no patience. I had no patience. I went through a long haul. I learned to have very little patience. He taught me little patience. But I tell everybody out there, whatever you're going through now, remember, everything heals, it gets better, not on our timeline, on his timeline upstairs. So his timeline is sometimes longer than our timeline. We want trauma done tomorrow. We want to be happy done tomorrow. We want everything, and sometimes it ain't. But guess what? When you do get to the good part of his timeline, you become stronger, you become happier, and you become wiser, and he uses you. He uses you, Mike. He's using you right now to help others. And that's what it's all about.
Another thing too is like, people always, want to have that conversation, the anti or the ones that fight everything, that how could a good God let all these evils happen? It's like, well, how would you even have a measurement of good? if there wasn't any bad, you know? And it's just that, you know, it makes the good shine that much brighter when you can actually have that weight as far as the, you know, seeing the tragedies and everything else that exist. And then, you know, seeing the bright light like yourself, you know, making that difference in the bad. You know,
you're a bright light. And listen, I'll tell you this again, I get faith. You know, my wife, she knows every scripture. She can read everything out of the Bible, and she's great at that. But I know stuff. So I'll tell you about Job. You know, someone told me I was Joseph a long time ago before I became Joseph.
That's actually the oldest book in the Bible, by the way.
So Job, God had a bet with the devil. The devil bet with the God that, you know, that he could take Job. And God had faith that Job would never give up. The only thing the devil could not do to Job was take Job's life. So what had happened? He takes his children, he takes his property, he takes his marriage in the end. All right? Almost like when I went through a lot of stuff, I thought that maybe I am Job. But guess what? God always has faith in you and me. He bets on us, even when we give in. But he bets on us. He believes in us. He carries us. He's always with us. And that's why I tell everybody. Yeah, the devil, your depression, your thoughts in your mind that keep talking to you, that's the devil. That's the naysayer in your brain. That's the Jiminy Cricket. Your conscience is small, but I call it Dumbo, the big elephant in the room. That's the negative thoughts. And it's coming to you. But guess what? God, and I don't do it all faith, because some people get turned off. But I'm telling you, the reason I say this is because he is with us. He bets on us. He believes in us. He knows us better than we know ourselves. And he knows the final outcome. And sometimes, yeah, he'll sit there, and even if we give up and fail, God forbid, he'll pick us up.
You know, another thing too, another analogy that I use with that, because that's actually it's funny you brought that up. I mean, it's really funny you brought it up because it's the one I study, and I use that when I speak to others as well too, because that comment that God said, hey, you can do anything to Job that you wish, but you can't take his life. Well, the devil, if you think about this in this analogy, it makes sense for, you know, some of the people that really don't get it, is the fact that by him taking, you know, putting the sores on him, the career and everything else, essentially he thought he was taking Job's life, because again, it's that what, and it goes a long way. And I use this as an analogy because especially in, you know, the field of being a first responder on any level, is the fact that, you know, when you're going in there and everything that we're doing to actually promote that, you know, what is it actually being for? You know, what life is there? You know, is that your life, or is it, you know, something greater? Is the passion or what I'm actually putting forth that life? And then Job was able to overcome that because the material things and everything else wasn't life. It was that in, you know, you know, his graciousness to God, who actually gave him what he had and things like that as well too. So it's a strong story, and it isn't just a story. It's a study guide. It really is. When you sit there and look at it and you go in depth and really look at, I mean, essentially his life was taken.
My cell phone's dying, Priest. So, but I'm just gonna leave you with one more thing. This was probably one of the best podcasts I've been on a lot. Another one I'd like you to talk to Krista Fee. She does Battle to Be. Very good. She's located in Texas. I will give her your number. Interact you. She's very good. She's a nonprofit in Texas. Does a lot of great work. She helps everybody with PTSD and belief. So that's another one, a beautiful one I was on too. But I'll tell you, I got myself blank for a second. Okay, I gotta think. I think somebody too much. But when it comes to, in the end, our book, A Life, is a lot of chapters. Hopefully, it's a big book, and we can't tire to read. But there's always going to be a setback. There's always going to be a chapter that you don't even want to go back to. You don't want to read that chapter again. It was full of heartbreak, loss, real bad times. But guess what? There's chapters after that. And the chapter should never end with you taking your own life. The chapter should be end whenever happens, happens. All right? And God brings us somewhere else. And I tell people that because there's a lot of people out there need to hear this. What I told the show is, you're not forgotten about. You might be going through something right now. My inbox is always open. Mike's inbox is always open to talk to. And you know what? Don't give up. I know it seems hard right now. I know it seems impossible to get out of this. And guess what? It looks like it can never get out of that. The way you think. But guess what? Time does heal wounds. I used to hate when my mother told me that, but things have a way of being so bleak today, and down the line, sometimes a little longer than you want, it's like it never happened. Life storms come to 4 stages. Before, beautiful day. When you're going through the adversity, the storm's happening. All right? And then the pickup afterwards, the devastation. And then the last one, like it never happened. 4 stages of life storms. And that's how it happens sometimes. There'll be a day when you still remember those scars, but there'll be a day where you could cope with it. There'll be a day when you say, come in here, let me talk to you. Let me listen to you. Let me help you. Or let me just listen. And I'll tell you, oh yeah, this is what you've been through. Yes, I've been through this. And I tell you, well, how could you get through it? You got to have hope and faith. And anytime you get anxious, call me, lean on me. Just don't give up. And that's the moral story, because my phone is never give up, never give up. Never give up. And I'll remember this. My catchphrase, and it's not a catchphrase, but it is, you matter, you're important, you make a difference. And I tell you, 3 F's in an L. Faith, family, friends, love. You got 3 F's in an L. You can try to get a little bit of each. You're all right in this world. And you know what? Your relationship might break up. Doesn't mean your life breaks up. You know what? You might get a new job. Don't mean your life breaks up. You might have a loss of a family member, and it's horrible. I don't even want to say it, but we're supposed to live with their memory and stay in this world, because that's what they want. They want, and they come to you. And I tell you that, and it's been a pleasure. Keeping it real, Steve Mauriello said, Michael, it's been a pleasure. I'll be honest, but I definitely want to talk off camera. I'd like to do a podcast, me and you together.
Yes, sir. Makes it happen.
You want to do it? I think it's great. We'll get guests to come up there and everything. I think it'd be great. I'll do StreamYard with you. I love it. You know, I want to do your method too, and kind of like test that part out to see how much more the comments, because again, that's why I do this, is for the engagement. Tell me, how do I share this on my page? You're gonna get, when I'm done with this, is it waiting on my Facebook page?
You'll see that it ended, and then you can actually share it, and it'll actually have the video plus my website. I post every one of the videos on my website on the Streaming Truth, so you'll be able to share them a link on that as well, to a separate link where it's actually the video. I'll put it on your Facebook page, and then again,
comments, I'll share it.
Yeah, I want everybody listening to tune in, keeping it real with Stephen Michael every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and on YouTube. Everybody try to follow him on the YouTube as well too. You don't want to rely just on the Facebook, because YouTube has a larger crowd.
But I'm live Wednesday on Facebook, then I share it on YouTube. But I like live. Come see what it's about. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you're somewhere else, please come. That means if you're West Coast in Arizona, it's 4 p.m. If you're Mountain Central time, I guess it's 6 p.m. But come watch a show. What everybody's talking about, come watch a first responder help people, bear his heart. But I guarantee, one promise I guarantee watching my show, you leave happier than when you started. And you will. I have people come to my show, interview, they break down and cry from the topic we're talking about, but at the end they're laughing. And that's a gift we have. You remember that. That's a gift. And God bears it to us, because we have to be the lighthouse in that dark rain, in the dark ocean. And you're doing a great job. And I want to link up, but you gotta put this on my page. I guarantee you're gonna have comments. I'll make sure about it.
And I also want to provide you. I'm gonna email you over my corporate accounts, because I'd really like to see you take your show and get it on the audio on an actual podcast, and I'll give you a stream link, or you
like Spotify, but
Spotify like costs money, and it's hard to get out there. But I have a different link. If you go to rss.com, it's free, and you can expose it anywhere, and you can actually embed that code onto any one of the different podcasts. You can get on like iTunes, everything else, and because you really need to get out there. I mean,
and I'll tell you the last thing. Thank you. I'm gonna tell you the last thing. Someone tells me, so I got people that talk. I'm a life coach. I get paid, and I'm happy. I'm very happy, because the world needs that. But I'll tell someone like this. And I don't want to sound, because I'm comparing myself to somebody that was on my job.
You got to be confident. You got to be confident. Don't think you're arrogant. You got to be confident.
They do a great job, and they do a great job, and I admire them, what they do. But I'll tell you this: you give me something to talk about, I'm like Eminem, and I can talk about it because it comes from my heart. You want to talk about faith? I talk about faith. You want to talk about hope? I can talk about hope. You want to talk about forgiveness? I can talk about forgiveness. You want to go down and length of page, redemption, been there. I check all the boxes. You want to talk about talking to the, I can switch it up because it's genuine and it's a gift. And I had it in me, but until I went through my darkest time struggles, God elevated me to be able to have a voice, and that's what I say. So I don't mean to. I respect everybody what they do, and I do, and the world needs more positivity. And any way you can help someone, I'm all for it. But I'll tell you, you're genuine. I'm genuine. When it comes to this, I don't need to throw my name. How many years I do this, please? I talk for me. Everybody, I'm a first responder, but you know what? They know what I do later on. But guess what? They watch me not because of that. They watch us because of who we are. Not my profession. They watch me for what I talk about and they watch you for what you talk about and how you react and you're genuine. That's why I don't throw it out the whole time. It's not. I do it for everybody, and I have a lot of people. I'll leave it at this. A lot of people that not first responders, are first responders. A lot of groups out there, and guess what? They watch you because you talk about everyday stuff we go through, and you're leaving with hope. And that's what this world needs: a little more hope and faith. They need a little more positivity. Once we get on that board, we're all going to get through this together, whatever life has us. But I'm definitely going to go because it's going to die. But send it to me so I can share it. I guarantee you have a lot of comments, and I definitely want to link up. I'm being serious.
I'll send you over an email with the links as well too. And everything above all else, man. Thank you for your service that you currently do, and stay safe and stay blessed in all things, Stephen. Seriously,
I had a great time. I didn't think I had it. I had my coffee. Everybody said, "How you get it?" It's a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Not sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, but it's the coffee. On my studio show, you might see a red cup. That's different. The studio show's audience, I might have a red cup, but that's nothing. Well, every day it's coffee. That's how I get hyper. It's natural in me. My wife's probably laughing in the other room, or she wants to wring my neck. I've been on it too long. But God bless you. Thank you. Share it, please. And I'll see you live Wednesday night. And I definitely want to link up with you and do more of this. I love it. All right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Stay blessed and stay safe, Stephen. Thank you so much again. God bless.
Good night. Facebook page, Stephen Mauriello. Keep it real with Steve Michael. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mike. It was a pleasure.
Good night. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.